La 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 la. German masala. Sit back and listen to German masala. Sit back and listen to German masala.
Okay, let me start. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th episode of German Masala Podcast. I'm your host, Habir.
And I'm your other host, Alex.
Very welcome to you as well, Alex.
Thank you. We're back in your apartment filming and recording, I guess, both.
Yes, this time it's my turn, so it's good that you are here. It's good that we can talk about our today's topic that you obviously don't know about.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this kind of became a little like segment here. Is there anything from last week or last episode, I should rather say, 2 weeks ago, that we want to put up? Like, I only received some feedback that one of our listeners, one of my friends, really liked the intro music, so that was cool. But I didn't receive like any big inputs. Oh, the one thing though. Oh yes, I actually did.
Okay.
Never mind. We didn't talk about our like logo. Like, we talked about food, and it has the German pretzel, and it has the masala, which is basically just another word for spice, right?
Exactly,
You told me.
that is spice.
Yeah. So and we had that, and people were like, "So you talked about food, but you never talked about your logo." I was like, "Oh crap."
That's a very good point. So we have some very keen listeners, I guess, right?
We do. So thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, definitely. I actually got feedback from one of my very good friends as well. It wasn't related directly to the last time's podcast, but to our general podcast, you know. So his name is Alex as well, by the way.
Oh, no way.
So the podcast we received from Alex was that our episodes, the feedback.
Sure.
The feedback
All right.
we received from him was that our episodes might be a bit too long because he was saying he likes to listen to what we are saying. The topics are interesting as well, but almost all the episodes are like about an hour or over an hour, and he's a very busy person. So, and also, I mean, these days, especially if you are not a podcast listener generally, this might be a bit longer time than you would usually have to, you know, get some entertainment. You listen to podcasts or watch YouTube videos. We listen to you, what you said, Alex, and let's see. So
let's see so we should maybe let our listeners know. So usually we do it the way that whoever brings the topic is basically the showmaster and is allowed to end the podcast at any time. And also that person usually edits the podcast. So I guess we can go either route, like either just talking less or editing it more to make sure. But honestly, we would love to hear from you. So if you have any feedback, leave it down in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube, or if you are listening on any other podcast services, because we're on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think we're on Amazon now.
Okay.
Amazon I think I just received the email. So I think we're on Amazon Podcasts now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like, just, you know, if you're on those, send us an email. The email address is in the show notes.
Definitely. So what we have been doing up until now is to keep everything organic. So we don't try to force any topics, or we don't try to make the episodes longer or shorter than they actually would be in an organic way. So I think we can just continue doing that, Alex, and see, you know, while editing, if there are things that we can take out, or, you know, there are some topics that might not be very interesting for people, maybe we can change a few things over there. But I would still like to keep things organic, right?
Me too. Okay. But to be fair, we sometimes drift off quite a long way from. But this is why we started this. Like, people ask me, why do you start this? How can you talk so? But basically we had the idea because we talked a lot, you know, at work, and we're like, basically we just need a microphone, and so yeah.
This is just a conversation between two friends, and we're just recording it, right? So.
Exactly.
Cool. About today's topic. So I hope you're going to like it. I think you have somewhat of an expertise in it as well.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, I watch a lot of YouTube. I mean, I don't watch any TV anymore, right? So
yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think for a lot of the young people, that's the case, right? They wouldn't watch like normal TV, what used to be called TV, but they would consume their content from Netflix, from YouTube, from
basically
other...
on demand, right? I mean, there has been the on-demand concept even with regular TV, especially in the US. It's never really taken off so much in Germany, but in the US, there were times when I was there in 2009, 2010, you had a cable box, you paid like $150 dollars a month or sometimes like that much, but you had on-demand channels. And then when you go there, you can watch movies on demand, which is kind of like the predating Netflix time. Yeah. Netflix was around, but usually with DVDs. So.
That's why while watching some of the American TV series, they will be like, oh, I TiVoed it. I never knew what it was.
Yeah, I mean, and TiVo, like you can, this actually, we had this in Germany as well. There were some receivers that would let you just record your shows and then you can play them back. But yeah, whatever.
Okay. Well, I never had such a receiver because, once we moved into once I moved into my apartment when I was a single person, I never got TV. I never got satellite. I switched right away to Netflix or to other online streaming services. So I think I might have been one of the very first users here in Germany for Netflix as well.
I think you might not have, because really? I had Netflix before it was even out in Germany. I used a VPN to tunnel my internet to America, because I was in America and then I was like, I love Netflix. And then I got here, I'm like, oh, Netflix doesn't work. So
I did that as well, by the way.
Oh, you did that too?
But Netflix was already here.
Oh, just to get the different content.
Just to get the American content, I did the VPN thing as well. Anyway, so the topic I wanted to talk to you about is is the classical TV dead or is it still alive?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so...
I love that. And I know people who will love that as well. Okay.
Cool. Ever since I was a kid, TV has been an integral part of my life, and I think this is similar for a lot of the people. I knew a few people in India and I know a few people in Germany as well who say that we don't have a TV, we don't care about TV. Do you watch Friends?
I don't.
Okay, so...
I don't. I know you love Friends. It's like your favorite series ever.
Yeah, I have a meme reference for everything from Friends.
But you do.
There's the scene where one of the characters, its name is Joey, is talking to someone and this person tells him, oh, I don't own a TV. And Joey goes like, he's a funny character. He goes like, then what is your furniture pointed to? It makes so much sense.
I mean, sure. I mean, I literally in all apartments that I've lived, even at my parents' house, the TV was and still is one of the centerpieces of the thing. But the TV is just the media consumption unit, like what you play on it, right? And that's, I guess, where your
exactly. That's
question
what
is pointing
at.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with what your thinking is. What do you think? Is the classical TV already dead? And
so by classical TV, you mean like the TV, like
the
programs.
TV consumption, how we used to consume TV, the channels that we had, we still have them.
We do.
But I don't know about the statistics. It's just about what your feeling is, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me personally, as you said in the beginning, I don't watch any classical TV anymore, except for actually the Tagesschau. But instead of consuming the Tagesschau live, which is like a German news broadcast every day at 8 p.m., instead of consuming that live, I actually watch it on YouTube, because usually at 8, I have something else to do, like 8 p.m. I'm eating, I'm chatting with friends, I have, other endeavors on the side. So what I do is I usually watch it before I go to bed at in the evening, at night, which I love. I love the whole on-demand concept. And there are just so many niches that I really love. Like there are so many little channels I love. And people might know me for, electric cars and stuff like that, but I also love home decoration, catamarans. I love so many different things, and YouTube gives me the opportunity to explore these things, and even computers like Linus Tech Tips, MKBHD, Becky and Chris, all these channels, they're sometimes, in the same space, sometimes completely different. And you just get that on demand, and you're also supporting, by watching their content creators that might not have had a chance to go into the traditional movie, film industry, or even TV industry, because their content was considered too niche, but now they're making a living of it. So I think that's really cool, and that's one part where I love this. And also just because I love their content. I think it's sometimes even better produced than TV shows, stuff like that. Now, I gotta say, like everything that's reality TV, I know that there are some reality TV shows on YouTube and stuff like that, but I think those are like the one thing which I guess I would watch on regular TV, but I never really watched one. I watched like Berlin Day and Night, like Berlin Tag und Nacht for like, I don't know, it was years back.
I've never watched it. Do you have an example for reality TV on YouTube? What exactly?
I've recently heard of like one channel where they like go around and do. I actually don't have, because I just don't watch reality TV that much.
Okay.
But then we get into the whole world of Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu in the US. Then there's Twitch for online streaming for games.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, honestly, all of those together, you're already starting to like once again have, you know, channels where you watch your TV. So I think it's moving back to like a more dispersed ecosystem where you still have different services. But yes, for me personally, traditional TV is, because it doesn't have that on-demand thing, dead. And except for the Super Bowl, but if that Super Bowl, by the way, if the Super Bowl would stream live somewhere on YouTube, I would definitely watch it on YouTube. And even if it costs a little bit, like I don't mind paying like 5 or 10 euros for like an event like this.
Of course,
one time. Yeah. Even sometimes when there's a movie that's not out on Netflix or anywhere else yet, I sometimes just buy it on Amazon and then I can watch it on Prime Video. I
love watching cricket, and we don't get cricket over here in Germany on any of the normal channels. I mean, you can get some Indian channels or some British channels via the satellite, and then you would be able to watch those, but I don't have that. So in those moments, I always think, why can't I watch this on YouTube? I would be willing to pay the money, right? 5-10 euros per match, it's okay. If it's an important match to me, I would pay that money.
Yeah. And it's like once a month, once a year for me for the Super Bowl, which I really love. I don't care a lot about other sports.
Yeah.
Sometimes I watch like a little bit of golf or something, but it's just, you know, in the background. Yeah. So yeah, I would love that. The one thing though I want to ask you, because maybe our listeners don't really know what TV is like in Germany or in India for that matter, or in the US. So in Germany, TV is definitely a little bit different than at least in the US, because in the US you usually pay a lot of, or you used to, a lot of people used to pay a lot of money for cable. Some of them I guess still do. But in Germany, TV was a little bit different. Like you could get TV pretty cheaply, and sometimes even for free if you have your like satellite dish and stuff like that. So there were a couple of channels you would have to have a special card and you would have to pay for it. But a lot of the channels are free, and some of them are financed through ads, where they just run a lot of ads, and some of them are financed through the
Rundfunkgebühren.
Yes, the Rundfunkgebühren. So in Germany, and I do pay mine.
Everyone has to pay theirs.
Everyone has to pay theirs. Yeah. Well, I guess if you don't have any radio, TV, or anything in your house, you don't have to. But like every smartphone is basically.
I think that used to be the case.
Oh.
Now they say, okay, even if you don't have those devices, you do have a computer and you are getting some kind of entertainment. So yeah.
Yeah, and at first I was a little bit mad. It's like, what, 50 euros or so every 3 months? Something like that. So yeah, so it's not terribly much. And you get high quality news and stuff like that. And so the ARD, the first German television, like basically station where I watch the Tagesschau news, they are sponsored by this. So I think it's important to have that. So, you know, in Germany, TV was never super expensive on the channels. Yeah. What was it like in India?
So when I was growing up, when I was a little child, like say 7-8 years, there weren't that many channels in India. There were just like 2 channels.
Oh, wow.
Both state sponsored, and then one local state sponsored channel. The 2 which were like Doordarshan. Doordarshan is basically a word for, I would say, satellite. Anyways, so Doordarshan 1 and Doordarshan 2, those were the 2 channels you would get, and you would have state-sponsored everything on there. Not really entertainment, also state-sponsored, because they were obviously producers, directors, they were doing their own thing and then selling the things to the channel. But the news was basically, you know, like Tagesschau, we had our news at, I think, 7:15 every day, and everyone who was interested in what's happening in the world would sit in front of the TV and would listen to everything happening in the world. That was one of the primary channels to get news. Other was the newspaper. But then, as I was telling you in one of our earlier podcasts, that after the 90s, the Indian market started opening to outside world. So that's what happened in the 90s. And channels from outside started coming to India. Like Star Movies, Star things. There was MTV. There was all those big names, ESPN.
I didn't know that.
have-
You get all really.
Yeah, you in India
Oh.
nowadays, I think you get like 2,000 or 3,000 different channels.
Holy wow, that is. Well, I guess if you really want to, you can get them pretty much everywhere in the world.
Yeah,
now, but
exactly.
yeah.
Those were, and in India they are very inexpensive compared to Germany. So you can get a cable TV. Cable TV, I think they have this concept in the US as well, where you can tell them, okay, these are the channels you want to have, and
You can have like a selection or a package or something like
Exactly.
the sports package and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly, and then you would pay like, I think my parents are paying right now 400 rupees, which is basically €5 per month.
That is cheap. Okay, that is cheap, like because even the Netflix subscription is more.
Yeah.
But in Indian money, basically, like in the buying power, is that considered a lot?
It's not considered a lot, but you have to see my parents don't really get that many channels. They get like around 50 channels or something.
Oh, okay, so they have a smaller package.
Yeah, and there are people who would get more channels, but they would still pay, I don't know, like €10 at most for the TV, which is, I mean, for a family like a normal family, a middle class family, is a decent amount of money.
Okay.
It's like what we pay for Netflix over here, I would say.
But is Netflix cheaper in India?
No, yes, Netflix is cheaper in India compared to how much we pay over here or how much people.
But compared to the cable TV?
it's very expensive, and I
Wow.
think that is one of the things why Netflix is having problems in India.
Are they? Okay, so I'm not too savvy about what's happening with Netflix and other streaming services in India.
Yeah, I think this is the problem. I have never gotten a Netflix subscription in India itself.
Sure,
but
yeah.
I read this news a couple of months ago, I think, where they said that Netflix is basically having problems in India and in other developing countries because of its rates.
Oh.
They are trying to cut down the rates, but they can only go up to a certain extent because they need to pay the people who are actually producing those things.
And I mean, some of them are own productions. I guess they have a little less overhead cost, but you still need to produce movies and they're expensive to be produced. Right?
Yeah, and it's quality content again, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the new, what did I watch? Like Project Power was one of the last ones I watched. It was actually Casey Neistat was in that movie. That's kind of why I watched it, because Casey had it on his YouTube channel, which I watched. So it's like all cascading into each other. But it was a good movie, and it was a Netflix original, I think. So it was Netflix produced. Or, Netflix gave it in commission, basically. And then a different, register, what is it called? Like a different director, would direct that movie and stuff like that. But it's basically a Netflix first movie. And there were a couple of those already, and I really liked them. Like, they usually have their theme of being like dark and gloomy in a way. Yeah. But honestly, I liked them. And some of the Netflix series like Stranger Things, I mean, they freaking like went through the roof.
Yeah, my wife loves it. I watched like first 2 seasons of it, but I'm not really a huge fan of science fiction and fiction. So
okay, well then, yeah, I love it too.
But I guess there are a lot of really, really good Netflix series out there.
Yeah.
Netflix movies, they direct movies as well.
What some people don't know is that some of the series that are like now have Netflix on them are actually just rebranded. So Netflix bought that content. And it's now on Netflix, and they basically have the rights to stream that to users. And a lot of people also don't, well, I guess a lot of people nowadays know because of all the VPN ads, but there are different, different movies and TV shows all over the world. So if I'm in the US, or let's say I'm in the UK, I want to say it's like, what is that one funny show with like Faulty Towers? Have you ever heard that?
No.
It's great. I love that show. It's like a really old show, but I think you get that. Then you get Parks and Rec when you're in the US.
Oh, that's awesome.
But you don't get any of those when you're in Germany. So there's still that, divide. And I just wish it would be a truly global thing where those licenses, where those agreements are just negotiated globally. So when I watch Netflix and someone tells me, oh, I have this, because we have friends from all over the world, right? Yeah. And I talk to friends in the US and they're like, oh, have you seen this? I'm like, no. And I would ask, like, is it on Netflix? And I would be like, yeah, it's on Netflix. But the issue is, like, maybe it's not on my Netflix. So this is the one thing which I really don't like, but it's something really hard to complain about because traditional TV, you never had that, right? Yeah. Like they would ask you, like, have you seen that movie or that show, for example, well, no, that's not quite true because some of the shows would trickle down to Germany, like OC California, like Magnum PI, Knight Rider, like some of the stuff I watched when I was younger. Those things would also would also be on TV in Germany. So, some of them would work, but it was never truly, truly global. And I would love for this to be. And I think YouTube is the closest to that right now because its content is basically available everywhere. There are a couple of limitations to that, but most of it is.
Yeah, I think the limitations are not because of YouTube, but more because of the local authorities. Like GEMA used to do this thing in Germany where they would say, okay, you can't watch this music video or listen to the song because of the copyright stuff. And this is very interesting. Funny fact, last time I came back from the US, I downloaded Parks and Recreation. I kept my phone off for like 3 or 4 days just so that it doesn't know I'm back in Germany. And
so you kept it on flight mode?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's what I did.
I wanted to do that too because I downloaded some as well. And then I put it into normal. I'm like, oh no, now it's gone.
Having 2 phones, one business and one private, paid off. So yeah,
I do have this too, but I didn't have Netflix on my work phone. So
okay.
I guess you
should get it
next time.
Next
All
time.
right. Anyway,
well, you don't know when you're going to the US next time because of the whole coronavirus thing. But
who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. Anyways, I think we already got a little bit into what I wanted to get into later, but let's continue with that.
Sorry.
No, I think that's a really good thing. So basically, I mean, what Netflix is doing right now is that they are producing or directing or showing you the similar or same things that used to be there, but it's just on-demand model, right?
Yeah.
And as you were saying, it's on the TV as well. These things, you have on-demand TV as well, but it never really took off as well as Netflix did.
Yeah.
I personally think it's because of the options you have, because of the things you can watch on Netflix. And if, for example, Disney starts doing it, like Disney started the on-demand thing as well now.
Disney Plus, right?
Disney
Plus. Streaming service. Yep.
But they will only be showing Disney produced stuff, right? It's not like Netflix where you can watch, well, now you can't watch Friends anymore in Germany on Netflix, but you were able to. But you can watch it on Amazon Prime now, so same thing.
Sure.
I think that's one of the main factors as well, why Netflix is so much successful than the other.
And I want to say it's also price.
Yeah.
So you get high quality streaming, which, TV is still mostly 720p, even if they say HD.
Yeah.
So that is, not even full HD. And if I see a 720p, I think our like 2 videos ago, you exported our podcast in 720p.
I'm sorry, listeners.
and I mean, you were right. Like, it's not terrible, but it's still like 1080p is I think even YouTube used to say 720p was considered HD, and they removed that a couple of months ago or a couple of weeks ago, I don't even know. And then only 1080p is now considered true HD, which I think is fair. And honestly, a lot of people, a lot of smartphones, but also a lot of just TVs at home, my TV's just full HD. There's no, I guess next time I'll buy 4K or something, but right now it's 1080p. So I think it's this, the considerably cheap price, and then it's honestly also a little bit of peer pressure, right? So if somebody watched a series and everybody's talking about that, and you haven't watched that, you're like, well, I want to watch that too. I want to be part of society. I want to be part of that conversation. And since Netflix is producing some of these shows, which is just everybody's talking about them, some of even the movies that people are now starting to talk about, if you're interested in that, in that space at all, I think some of it is also just like, well, it's it's on demand, and it's like this false, I don't want to say false, but like this false sense of, well, I can cancel at any time, right?
Yeah.
So you're paying, like Disney Plus is a little different because they will offer you huge discounts if you pay yearly instead of monthly. So I think that's what we're doing. But on Netflix, it's monthly, and there is actually, I do prefer that model, to be honest. It's like just, like there's no option to pay. I don't think there's an option to pay yearly. It's just like you pay monthly, and then if you don't want it, you just cancel. And if you want to, you just get. And this gives you the sense of, well, if I don't need it anymore, I can always cancel it. You never do.
It's not that expensive.
Yeah.
You can always cancel, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. And honestly, especially during this pandemic, I mean, like I haven't been in a movie theater since. So, and I don't know if I will, but you know, it's just so nice to have all this stuff right where you are and when you want it.
I'm actually waiting for the time when they will start releasing the movies on Netflix.
They did with Mulan. Well, that's not Netflix, but that was Disney Plus. And so I listened to the Carpool's Critic podcast, which is like out of Linus Media Group. So for every one of our viewers, I guess like they said, don't watch it. First of all, just watch the original, the animated one. Apparently the live action one is not good. Okay. And it is also like a lot of the movie theater owners were really unhappy because this is one of the big Disney movies, even if it's not really good by movie critic standards, still like parents will watch it with their kids. A lot of people will watch it, right? And it was supposed to be releasing in movie theaters and after that on streaming. And now Disney Plus actually, I think it costs like 30 euros or something because it's like a release only digital first.
Okay, then, I mean, you can make a night out of it, right? So it's basically the same amount of money you would be paying for going into the cinema.
Exactly,
well, right?
But honestly, like this takes away a little bit of that appeal of, well, it's on Netflix and it's streaming everything, right?
I agree.
And this is what I really don't like about Amazon Prime. Because on Amazon Prime, like they now in the app have that little toggle switch having like, show me only stuff that's included for free in Amazon Prime. But Amazon Prime also has this, like the default view is you have everything in there, basically all movies. But then some of the movies you still have to pay or some of this. And this is, yeah, sure, they're probably making a lot of money off it. But I don't like that. Yeah. Like if I'm paying for this.
And one other thing with Amazon Prime is that not all the movies are available or in the original language. So I think that's annoying.
But if we're talking about annoying stuff with this, you know that there's also the not widely used but still pretty big Google Play movie section.
Of course I know it, yeah. I've never watched anything there, but
I tried.
Okay.
And sometimes like I still had some Google Play credits because you sometimes get some money credits there. Yeah. And there was a movie I wanted to watch. Yeah. They just didn't let me watch it in the original language. It's so weird. Because I'm in Germany, and for whatever reason, I think they only own the German. So that's when this part died for me. Like I never really looked at any movies in there anymore because I try to watch everything in original language. Yeah. If it's English or German. Yeah. Right? If it's like anything else, I speak a little bit of French, I speak a little bit of Spanish, but not good enough that I can actually enjoy a movie. Sometimes I'll watch with subtitles, but usually I'll then put it in German or English.
Yeah. And German dubbing is quite good usually. So.
Oh yeah. I don't really mind it. But this is one of the where I'm like, this is also why I love the streaming services because they give me a chance. On German TV, you will get all movies only in the German format, right? It will be German language, and I don't like that. I really like to enjoy the original voices, and sometimes they make such a big difference.
Yeah. I agree. Coming back to the point you made about Google Play, I think there are some copyright issues as well. So.
Well, I think it's more than, but I think it's like just paying, right? Like you have to pay if you want to have the right to sell that movie.
Exactly. I think whenever a Hollywood movie, for example, Hollywood movie comes to Germany, there's some kind of local movie production house involved in it, in translating it and dubbing it in German. And then you need to pay them as well, I think, if you show the movie in the original language. Interesting things. My second point, what I wanted to talk to you about today. So we sort of compare now the classical TV with mostly with Netflix, right? So Netflix is doing similar things to the classical TV where they are showing us content which is similar, right? You can see movies on TV, you can see movies on Netflix, you can see series on TV, you can see series on Netflix. What YouTube did, it kind of disrupted this whole thing, right? everyone can start making their own content, as you were mentioning earlier, right? You are one of the YouTubers here in Germany. You have quite a lot of subscribers, right?
I mean, I'm getting closer to 9,000. It's all right. It's still considered small. So
I mean, for me it's a lot, but yeah. And we put our videos on YouTube as well now. I mean, going back like 10, 15 years, 15 years, let's say. How old is YouTube? 15, I think, right?
yeah, actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's about 15.
I'll look it up. You keep talking.
Anyways, but I think I would have never thought that this is going to be possible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 15 years, all right.
yeah, it's very disruptive, right? To you, what differences do you see between Netflix and YouTube? They are somewhere competitors. Like I think Netflix has like 140 million subscribers now in the world. YouTube has around 2 billion.
Only 140 million?
Yeah, most of them are paying.
Well, I guess, yeah, Netflix. Interesting. Subscribers. I want to know how many there are.
I saw the statistics some time ago.
No, you're right. Like it's around, like in 2019, it was end of 2019, 167 million. Interesting.
Okay.
I thought it was more. I guess they still have a huge, but some of them use also multiple accounts, stuff like that, or one account for multiple people.
That is true. But then this is something I want to talk to you about as well. There's this subscription model versus the model that YouTube has.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the first point, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, YouTube is disruptive, yes. And the reason why it's disruptive is because this is one of the only platforms where you can make money off your videos per default. Like you don't have to. So for example, let's say Instagram. I think Instagram now starts with ads, so their model might change. But for the longest time, and I think still in a lot of markets now, if you're an Instagram creator, a content creator, and this can be a whole job, right? The only way to make money off Instagram is if you have other people or companies pay you for the exposure. And that usually means you have to build up a brand, a recognition, a reputation first, where you have enough subscribers or followers on Instagram that a brand will say, well, this person has like 2,000 people and he's making a lot of content about, I don't know, TVs. Maybe we'll pay him to advertise our TV on his Instagram channel or her Instagram channel. And that means you have this huge investment going in. And you're never sure. Whereas on YouTube, you can make money after a certain threshold, after you hit a certain threshold. That changed, by the way, too. It used to be lower, but that's fair, right? But you can, if you want to make a career out of it, make a career out of it. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you will make a ton of money on it. And only, I want to say the top few percent make enough to live off of YouTube. But the appeal is there, and it at least gives you a valuable or a valid chance to make that money. And I think that's why it's so different. It's user-generated content, but there were a lot of platforms. Even I remember Clipfish in Germany. Vimeo is still around. They're now branding more towards like B2B stuff and stuff like that.
Okay.
So they're still around, but all of those platforms are lacking this like chance for creators to make money of it. And it's so important because honestly, if my YouTube videos have evolved over the past 1.5 years.
Yeah.
And now so much more time goes into every video. Like I have the gear right now. It's expensive. It costs a lot of money. And I paid way more than I made on my channel for my new gear because it's a hobby. I like to do that. And it's not like I'm not currently living off of that money. But this is nice to get some of it back. And I think that's why YouTube is disruptive also to Netflix, because you're right. Netflix, they started with just sending out DVDs. Now it's all on demand. It's more the cinema and the actual production content. Whereas I think YouTube can be everything from really high level produced series like YouTube originals, all the way down to like funny home fail videos or someone teaching you how to repair your broken Xbox or something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they have clean with me videos on YouTube, right? Where people are just cleaning their apartments and they have got millions of clicks.
Yeah. I mean, but this just goes to show that it doesn't sometimes, if you would tell your parents, or if I would have told my parents when I was young, like, you know what I should do? I should, my job will be to make videos of me cleaning my room, putting them on the internet, and then I'll get paid for that. They would be like, no, you're going to go to school and you're going to learn something, right? Like, but this goes to show that ingenuity, innovation, like people might say you're stupid, but if it works, it ain't stupid.
Yeah, if you're passionate about something, I think you should do it. Doesn't
Definitely.
matter if people say it's stupid or not, right? Very good point. We talked about a lot of different things right now, and
Yeah, we were all over the place. But the one thing that I still wanted to ask you, because I gave my opinion on the beginning, but what do you think? Like, is traditional TV dead?
I think so. For me, it has been dead for years now, and I think as we are progressing now, as we are, in terms of there's more and more content on channels like YouTube or or Netflix. It's more and less people will keep watching the TV. But the thing is, I was looking at some statistics just now, and I think only around 8 million people in Germany have Netflix. So there are still 90% of the people who do not have Netflix. So classical TV is still somewhat there, but I think this will keep decreasing with the time.
Definitely. I would subscribe to that thesis. And I think classical TV has really have to step their game up, right? I heard that there are a couple of plans to have like joint media libraries where it's basically like a streaming service from the different TV stations. A lot of them already have an online portal where you can watch TV. So I know people who watch Germany's Next Top Model, but they never watch it live. They also watch it like back on their website, and then obviously you can target ads based on the people who go to your website. And this is one where I want to ask you, because ads, right? This whole concept of either Netflix, for example, you just pay, no ads, awesome. YouTube, I think, is actually one of the best concepts because you can enjoy it for free with ads. And if you say, I hate these ads, I don't want these ads, they give you the option to buy your time back. And this is actually, I'm stealing these words now from the, what is the podcast called? I love that. It's from Becky and Chris. The podcast is called Tuxedo Time. Okay. And on their last episode, which aired a couple of days ago, they actually talked about this, and they were like, look, I want to always have the chance to buy my time back if I think it's worth the money. And basically YouTube can set the price at anything. And if someone is like, well, my 1 minute of ads, or maybe 5 minutes if I watch a lot of YouTube videos and there's a lot of ads, I don't want to spend these 5 minutes on ads. I can pay I don't know, what is YouTube Premium right now? 12 euros?
12 euros.
Oh, that's a lot. Interesting. Okay, well, anyway, if
12 or 11 maybe, but it's more than 10. Yeah.
Okay, so but then you can say is it worth to me because I watch so much YouTube and there are so many ads? Well, then you can always get rid of them, and I think that's fair because the creators will still get part of your subscription money based on what kind of videos they watch. So I think that's kind of the perfect model.
I absolutely agree, and I have YouTube Premium right now because...
Oh, look at you.
Look at me. No, the thing is, I used to pay for Spotify, and with YouTube Premium package that I have right now, I pay 11 or 12, I'm not really sure, this amount of money. And then I get YouTube Music as well, which is basically so I can listen to music in my car, and I can...
I mean, I have YouTube Music, and I have YouTube Music subscription, but I guess it's not it doesn't work the other way around.
It doesn't. I'm not really sure. So the offer I bought, it was both the things are included.
Interesting.
And I think it's a new thing. They just started a couple of months ago.
Maybe we should switch. Anyways,
so when I was talking about Netflix having 140 million users, and you just said 160 million, and then YouTube being close to 2 billion now, the main difference is that they don't have this model. They don't say, okay, we are going to show you ads if you are not willing to pay, right? This is the best thing YouTube ever did, I think. And this is what made them so successful as well. Along with the TrueView thing. So you have these ads which you can skip after 5 seconds. So which basically give me the power to say, okay, do I want to watch this ad? If I want to, I will continue watching it. If I don't, I'm going to skip it. And this TV never had this option.
Nope, they didn't.
In TV, the ads were seen as disruption in a negative way every time, right? So you would watch your movie and then they will show, in India, they used to show like 15 minutes worth of ads.
Same in Germany.
Same in Germany. Wow.
Well, maybe not 15, but you would have enough time to get yourself a drink, go to your basement and pick up like a pizza, put it in the oven, go to the bathroom, you get back and you still have a minute left of ads.
Would you watch those ads?
No.
Or did you used to?
Well, the thing is, and I mean, ads are really controversial, right? I mean, we both work in kind of the ad space as well. So,
Yeah.
but the thing is, no, I wouldn't usually watch them.
Yeah.
But sometimes, especially on like the children's channel when I was younger, they would have these cool remote controlled cars that could go in the water. And man, I would love these, right? So, and there's a couple of times where ads actually help me find a brand or a product which I really love, right? So it's not that ads are inherently bad in my opinion. They can be a net positive for everyone because whoever is serving that ad, let's say YouTube, gets a share of that money and hopefully also the creator that, you know, makes the content. So that's great because they get paid, you know, they're creating jobs and money. The company who's advertising hopefully gets new customers and the people who are watching this and then buying the product are hopefully, you know, enriching their lives with some sort of product, technology or whatever that they didn't have before.
This is the best thing about companies like Google, Facebook, YouTube, which is basically part of Google now, that, you know, everyone wins. And that's why I'm digressing a little now.
Yeah.
That's why when people keep saying, oh, they are trying to steal my data, it's really annoying to me. I mean, of course, they are taking your data into consideration while showing you the ads, but it's for your own good. These ads are going to be interesting for you.
Well,
right?
but and then that's what some sites have on their website, like, do you want personalized ads or not? I mean, we'll still show you ads. If we can't use your data,
Exactly.
we will just get random ads where
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's my choice to either have super random ads, which maybe I don't really care about, and then there's a higher chance that I will like the ads if I, you know, agree to use some of my data. I don't want everything to be used, obviously, but I don't mind if they know some things about me to make my ads more interesting.
Agree. I would rather have companies competing against each other for my impression and trying to show me, okay, I have a discount for Nike shoes because I'm interested in buying shoes, right? Rather than just seeing any random ad like you used to see in the TV.
Yeah. Not sponsored by Nike, although you're wearing
Yeah, of course.
Nike shirt. Yeah, but and that's the thing. And at the same time, and this is again also why YouTube became such a big phenomenon, the creator gets that money, or at least a part of it, right? No. So it fuels your favorite stuff. So you can, with your views on this, well, we don't get ad revenue, but with, not yet, at least. But with your views on any of the YouTube videos, you're actively supporting that content, that channel, right? And I think that's such a cool thing, that the power of what is shown in the world is outsourced to the user rather than big TV networks which are deciding behind closed doors, oh, we think this is good for people and we think that's good for people.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Now, on a fun note, Alex.
All right.
What is your all-time favorite series or movie? The thing that you can watch again and again.
Oh man, I have to think a little bit about. So one I really love, it's not really old time, but is just Rick and Morty. I've watched that like, I don't know, so many times. I think it's really funny. I like the humor that's in that show. So I can watch that. Like if I put it on, I will just watch a couple of episodes just because it's interesting. I like it. Awesome. And then which other one is, there's another one that I watched. Breaking Bad I watched twice, but it's more like, it's more involving. You have to, you know, be more in the mood for watching it, I think.
Sorry, I have to say this. I think Breaking Bad is one of the best things ever made.
I agree. It's freaking amazing. And then let me look at my Netflix real quick. Because there's a couple of other shows that were also really interesting. Altered Carbon was really good, but it's not like one of the ones that I watch like every time. Yeah, I guess like I said, Rick and Morty is one that I watched a couple of times, and I would always enjoy watching that.
I've watched a few episodes of Rick and Morty, but so I was always a Family Guy person, and you can watch only that many things. So I thought, okay,
Yeah.
let me leave Rick and Morty right now out and not watch it. But Breaking Bad, it's definitely one of the best series
So
ever made.
what's yours? What is your like?
Of course, Friends.
Oh,
man.
well, should have known the
So
answer.
whenever I'm working, it's running in the background.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you have it on DVD, right? You actually said
My
that's one of-
colleagues gifted me a pack of DVDs, but I never opened it because it's available on Netflix. It's available on Prime as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh man, that is so cool. What is your favorite TV show that you watched on traditional TV when you were younger, or even like later?
Wow. Well, I used to watch a lot of cartoons.
Okay. Sure.
I've watched like normal Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck stuff, Tailspin, DuckTales. Do you know?
DuckTales, yeah. The three track and truck, or
Exactly.
whatever.
They had different names in India. They
Oh,
had,
interesting.
Huey, Dewey, and Huey. So something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so just really quick, because we're on naming.
Yeah.
The funniest thing, SpongeBob SquarePants in the US.
Yeah.
In Germany, he's called SpongeBob Schwammkopf,
Schwammkopf.
which means SpongeBob Spongehead. And when I told this to my American friends, they were freaking out. They were like, what is happening? In Germany, you call it SpongeBob Spongehead? That doesn't make sense. Sure, he is a SpongeBob, but that already means sponge, and then he has square pants. And they were...
He does have a Schwammkopf for Spongehead.
Well, yeah, but basically SpongeBob is already like kind of the sponge thing in there.
I don't know. I watched SpongeBob only in German, so
Okay,
it
yeah.
was the time when I was trying to learn German. So
Sorry, but that's so different names and different language. I think that's always so fascinating.
yeah. I mean, cartoons I used to watch a lot, and then there were some Hollywood movies we would get every now and then, but not that many series back then. India, by the way, the TV industry is huge over there, just like the movie industry, and people would watch. Especially, I know a lot of aunties from my neighborhood who would watch TV for like 6 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
And there are, I think, some series going on since 10, 15 years. They are continuing, and people love those things. Yeah.
I want to just really quick touch on some of the negative aspects, because we're really positive, and obviously both of us love the freedom and content this is provided to us with stuff like on-demand, Netflix, YouTube.
Yeah.
One of the main downsides that I see is just the curation of content, especially when it comes to news. We've seen in the coronavirus pandemic, but also with racial equity movements, stuff like this, where YouTube can serve the adversary. Like, it could be the opposite of what the companies and what hopefully most of the world is set out to create equality for everyone. But then this can be used by right-wing media and by other publications. I mean, YouTube and Facebook are starting to crack down more on false information. Facebook just recently stopped advocating, like they will not show any health groups anymore, because you should they say this and I completely agree, you should get your information from curated sources and not from some people saying essential oils will cure your cancer or something, right? So I think that's really negative also, because sometimes you'll go down a rabbit hole. And since algorithms are what serve you your content, also on the next video that's playing on YouTube, on Facebook, what's on your main feed, this can lead to you being trapped in a bubble of information where your view will only be strengthened every time, but it might be a view which is just factually not correct.
I agree with everything you just said, but I always take this example of a hammer, right? It's a tool you should use to, hammer a nail, but you can also use it for other purposes. You can use it to hurt someone, right?
Yeah.
So just like this, YouTube, I mean, it depends on the person how you're going to use it. So other thing, I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and I know he's becoming a controversial figure as well, but he sometimes have really good, really interesting guests on his show, which, and sometimes not so much as well. But yeah, I was listening to this one, and it was quite a good one actually. And he said basically that they were talking about Twitter and YouTube, etc., banning some people from the platform, which I think was a good thing, because these people are not really right-wing people. These were like extremists, right? Some of them they were talking about, right? But then he said, shouldn't these things, because they have become so large, like YouTube or Twitter, shouldn't these be like fundamental human rights, like air, water, etc.? And if they are, if everyone should be able to have access to these things, how can a company just ban those people from their platform, from these platforms?
No, I would, yeah, but I would disagree. I think it's important because some people just want to watch the world burn. Some people are just inherently trying to destroy values because of whatever personal values they have, which will hurt the communities in ways unimaginable. And I gotta say, like, this is also partly true of traditional media. Like Fox News isn't doing a great job for the world right now, right?
Of course.
I'm not saying like this is only an issue on platforms like Facebook and YouTube, but it is just such a big deal where I think they have to step in. If someone tells you the freaking world is flat, that's some BS. I'm sorry, but this should, like, if children, like, okay, so the issue is because it's so widely available, children can access it super easily. And I want to bet that most of the people watching them are probably younger people, right?
Yeah.
So when these younger people see this and their worldview gets shaped by some of the just flat out BS that's on there, then I'm sorry, but like if you're actively trying to hurt people and trying to get people to, in the worst case, probably like kill others, right? Saying like these people are coming into our country, taking our jobs, they're bad, we need to build a wall, stuff like that. I'm sorry, that is straight up hate speech, and that's what Hitler did in Germany.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see any of that, and I think companies have a moral obligation to do the best to their abilities to do this. And this is also where I think the role of people who are running the channels have to step in. So my channel, right, on YouTube, this channel as well, by the way, if there's anyone commenting anything that is straight up
hate speech, hurtful.
Yeah, well,
Not just for us.
Like if someone is commenting some racial stuff on there, like I'm not, like, I don't give any second chances. It's like, you're banned from the channel.
Yeah.
And so that's where actually Facebook now stepped in and said, if there are groups without an admin, they will now need an admin, and that admin can be held at least somewhat accountable.
Oh.
So for example, if a group is banned, the admin cannot create any new groups for a certain amount of time now, due to, you know, if it's banned for like reasons such as, you know, wrongful information, stuff like that, which I think is great, because if we have this community, I think the people who are creating that community have to, I know if you're running a channel on YouTube that has millions of views, you cannot go through all of the comments, obviously.
Of course.
Right? But I think that's where we all have to step up, and we all have to start being active members of society. If something is wrong, report it, because sometimes, you know, the people who are taking the time to make that content just they're not aware of some of the bad things that's happening in the comment section. So I think it's completely fine to have free speech. To have an opinion is completely okay. What I completely disagree with is stating opinions as facts. You can say, like my favorite example obviously is electric cars, right? Like you can say, I don't like electric cars, and I have nothing to say against you. Yeah. You can say, I think they look stupid. You can say all of that. But when you start saying, well, my diesel car that's 10 years old is better for the environment, that's just straight up false. Like, give me the facts of that. And people will not give me that, right?
The problem is a lot of people think that their opinions are as valid as other people's facts, which is absolutely BS again, right?
Yes.
This cannot be. This cannot happen.
Exactly. But this is more and more being driven into society by these platforms, because some of the channels, and again, I have a channel where I express my opinions, but I try to be as factual as I can, and I will pin comments. If I said anything wrong, I'll comment, I'll try to correct it in the next video. We're all humans. Nobody's perfect. Even big news publications make errors once and again. So that's not what I'm getting at here, right? The big thing is if this is happening constantly, what you just said, right?
Yeah.
If people like, just name it Donald Trump, right? He has a bunch of opinions. He always likes to state his facts, which is straight up wrong, right? So it's a difficult issue. So that's one of the negativity aspects. And then the other one I just wanted to point out, there is the content that's available on regular TV, like with the hosts, and it's also a huge industry, right? Does it have anything positive to contribute, because this is what is still used to distribute a lot of news, right? If everybody would just get their news from YouTube and Facebook, it's maybe not the best idea, right? So I think there still has to be a big shift if we want to have everything on demand. What do you think?
I agree. I think there are some negative points, and the points you just mentioned are very valid. I agree with both of those. I think there's one another point that I personally feel is a bit negative, at least for me, is that my consumption of the whole like entertainment thing has increased a lot since things are on demand now. When I remember the times when I was a child and we used to get 1 hour on a Sunday to watch TV, and that was it for the whole week.
Okay, yeah.
There wasn't much on anyways, and then when I grew up a little, it was like 1 hour a day maybe, and now it's sometimes the whole day. You get into the spiral. You watch one YouTube video and then the algorithm is so good, it'll show you another one which is very interesting, and then another one. You can't really get out of this black hole somehow.
Yeah. I agree. I think the consumption in general is going up because of the on-demand stuff. Sometimes I would get tired of an ad, ads playing, and I would just turn off the TV. I'm like, yeah, I'm over this. But on YouTube, on Netflix, there isn't that thing, or at least on Netflix there isn't, or on YouTube if you're paying for it. So yeah, I agree. And it's also, especially with the younger generation, it, as you said, right, it's a tool, it can be used for multiple things. Like YouTube helps so many people learn new stuff. Like Absolutely. I learned programming basically from YouTube videos. It was also a website, Python programming, like .NET, but it's also a lot of videos on there. So I learned usually with the videos. Right, so these videos provide educational content, which maybe even universities sometimes can't bring at that level. At the same time, while it's bringing like hate speech sometimes to certain areas of the internet. So nothing is perfect in life. I just think it's important that we always try to look at the benefits it's bringing and try to just make sure that all downsides are as much as we can, basically protected, right? Not protected in the sense of like that we just take steps to prevent anything that is truly like hurting communities or advocating for hate to be spread around the world, that this is kept under control and not spread around.
Agreed, 100%. On that note, I think we both agree that despite some of very little disadvantages, drawbacks, it's a really great thing that we have now things like Netflix or YouTube, TV on demand, or channels like YouTube, which motivates creators to do stuff. So yeah, great thing, and I enjoyed talking to you about this. I hope you did as well, Alex.
It was super interesting, Harbir, and also to learn about like how TV was in India and how things are over there. I can't imagine, going back 15 years or something, we're both alive, but that was such a different world. So much has changed.
So much has changed. The things have changed at a very rapid pace. I think I always, older people have always said that as well, that in their times, things used to be different. And that's what we say now as well, when we were growing up. But the thing is, I think so much has changed so rapidly in the last 15 to 20 years because of the technology companies, doing great stuff, that this does not used to be the case earlier. Like if you go 50 years back, there was TV, there was radio, but that remained a constant for a certain amount of time, But with us, it's changing.
It's the rate of innovation and the pace of innovation. So, especially exactly when elderly people say like, "Oh, it changed also in our time. Like it was different when we." Yes, and then sure it was, right? But then when we look back at that time now, our change is much bigger, like percentage-wise. Like as you said, TVs were around in the 1960s and 70s, and from the 60s to 70s, they didn't really change that much.
Not really.
But take my phone here. 10 years ago, if you would give me like this, I would say this is impossible. And now we have folding phones, we have swiggling phones, we have cameras that are better cameras in phones than on some of the dedicated filming hardware. So it's crazy.
But you know what? I think the time is coming when the growth is going to slow down a little. There will still be growth. There will be progress in terms of technology, and devices will be getting better. But the speed will slow down a little.
I actually disagree.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we are not even close to achieving what we can with technology, science, AI, and we're just scratching the surface.
Sorry, I was talking about devices like phones.
No, even with that.
You think so?
Yeah,
Okay.
because where like phones are physical devices, where are the limitations? Currently, it's only manufacturing, really. Like if you can make a chip smaller, more energy efficient, that's usually manufacturing stuff and innovation on that side.
Exactly, and how much more smaller can you make the chips?
That
was my point.
I think a lot.
You
like,
think so?
Yeah, I think there is so much more to be done with devices and stuff.
Do you know about I think it's called Moore's Law?
Yeah, Moore's Law with the doubling. And I know it slowed down.
It has slowed down.
Yeah, it has slowed down. I agree,
but
but I think the rate of innovation will actually, maybe we're hitting a little bit of a plateau, but it will accelerate again.
Okay.
Because there's so much more we can do with new materials and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure AI will play a huge role and it will change things as well. I was just thinking about devices, but okay. Maybe topic for a next time.
Topic for next time.
Yeah, Alex, great talking to you, and I hope all of you enjoyed our talk as well. If you have any opinions, I'm sure you do, please feel free to share with us in terms, like you can comment on our YouTube video or you can send us emails. We are always happy to hear from you.
We are. German Masala is part of the Alex Universe media universe, I guess. This is maybe a little bit too self-inflicting, right? Anyway, which is currently the YouTube channel called Alex Universe, hosted by me, where I usually talk about electric cars. And then it's this podcast hosted by Harbir and myself. So yeah, and this podcast is on all major podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, now Amazon also, and a bunch of others. If we are on any platforms that you didn't or that we're not on there yet and you can find us, please let us know, send us an email or leave a comment under the YouTube video.
Yes.